Okay, guys, something happened before. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So let's start all over again. Our topic today is going to be how to graph and solve inequalities. Remember, when we're talking about inequalities, we're talking about this symbol, okay? Greater than or less than, okay? Greater or equal to, less or equals to. Let me just say this in Spanish. Ok, muchachos, vamos ahora a graficar desigualdades. Las desigualdades tienen estos símbolos, ok. El símbolo de mayor que y el símbolo de menor que, alright. También tiene el símbolo de mayor o igual que o menor o igual que, alright. Ahora, para graficar estos, acuérdense, cuando tenemos estos dos sin la rayita abajo, va a ser círculo abierto, círculo abierto. Pero si tiene la rayita de igualdad, ya sea el mayor que, va a ser círculo cerrado. Y este también va a ser círculo cerrado. ¿Ok? La dirección en la que la flecha va a ir cuando yo grafique, eso depende del para dónde está apuntando la flecha. Si ustedes se dan cuenta, este está apuntando para la derecha y este está apuntando para la izquierda. So, así vamos a saber en qué dirección la gráfica va a ir. So, ahora voy a decir esto en inglés. Okay, kids, look. So, when you have these symbols right here, remember, if you graphing inequality, all right, and the symbol doesn't have the equal sign, that means that if it's greater than only or less than only, when you graph, it's going to be an open circle, okay? Now, when you graph greater or equals to, is going to be closed circle, less or equal to closed circle. So the difference is this. When it doesn't have the equal sign, is open, and when it does have the equal sign, is closed. Also, when you graph, you have to know which direction the graph is going. It's going to be, okay, going. So, easy to remember, okay, guys? Remember, if you have this symbol, you can tell that the graph is going to the right. Either one of these two, okay? Now, if you have it in this form, less than or less or equal to, then you have to go to the left, okay? So, just for you to know, that will be right and that will be left. So open right, open left. Close right, close left. All right, that was like a little review for you to remember because we did this over the year, right? And we're not going to waste time on that because that's pretty basic. Now, obviously, you need to know this in order to work with the word map, okay? Like I said before, I did do now, and I wasn't recording. Something happened. So let's continue with this one then. The first answer was graph x is greater than 3. So because it's greater than, it's going to be open and it's going to the right side. So you go to number 3, you do an open circle, all right? And your arrow should be going to the right, okay? Now, number 4, because it had the equal sign, that's supposed to be closed circle, all right? But because it's less than, that means this right here, less or equal to, we have to go to the left. So I circle number 4, I went to 4, circle it, and I create my arrow. Listen, you don't have to do your arrow all the way to the end. As long you make the symbol this way, that means that it goes into negative infinity in this direction, positive infinity in the other direction. All right? Now, I was talking about this, number 3. Number 3 I know is open, but remember, guys, number 3 is not in the order that's supposed to be. X always supposed to be in the left side. That's why when we did equations, I told you guys, get used to keeping the variable on the left side, okay? Siempre quieren que la variable esté en el lado izquierdo, all right? So, aquí está en el lado izquierdo, aquí está en el lado izquierdo y aquí también, pero aquí no. So, lo que tienen que hacer es darle vuelta. So, what you have to do, guys, is just flip it, turn it around. Now, the X will come to the right, but remember, because it is an inequality, now the symbol also is going to change directions, all right? So now you can see that instead of going to the right, you actually is going to the left. So that's what you have to do, okay? Just make sure you just switch the direction. You don't even have to do this. as long as you know that this is not in the right format, so you go to the opposite side. But if you want to get, like more comfortable with, so just flip it, just turn it, okay? This means the greater than, if you turn it around, I become to be less than, all right? So now I'm going to go to -2, which is right here. And I know it's going to be an open circle because it doesn't have the equal sign, and it should be going to the left. If you do like that, you will go to the right, which is wrong. So now try to graph it, okay? And remember, you don't have to do all that. You can just leave it like that, or you can just make it a little darker, right? And that should be perfect. So during the school year, I know a lot of my students forgot about this rule and they went to the right side. Now, number 4 is ready to go. It says x has to be greater or equal than 0 because it had the equal sign, so that means that 0 is included. So I'm going to darken, right? And it goes to the right. Okay? Remember, the symbol will give you the directions, and that's what I give you the overview here, okay? That means right, that means left. Open, open. Right, left. But in this case, they both have to be close because they have the equal sign on the bottom. All right. So now that was the warm-up. So for you guys to have done the warm-up in the classroom, you're supposed to know all these rules, which we actually taught in previous lessons, all right? Now let's do our lesson today, which is a little more than that. Now we have to solve, okay? This one was already to graph because there's nothing to solve. But now we have to solve, then graph. So if you see my definition here, it says, to solve inequalities, we use the same steps we will use to solve an equation, okay? Para resolver desigualdades, usamos los mismos pasos que usamos para resolver ecuaciones, ¿ok? Ecuaciones quieren decir que tienen el signo de igualdad. Equation means that they have the equal sign, ¿ok? So, the only difference that we must remember is when we divide by a negative, okay? Remember, guys, negative. The inequality sign changes directions, okay? So, the only difference that we have when we solve inequalities is when we divide by a negative number, okay, or by a negative value, the inequality sign changes direction. So, en español, cuando dividimos entre un número negativo, ok, la desigualdad cambia de signo. El signo de desigualdad cambia de dirección. Okay? So let's do some problems. Solve the following inequality, then graph each of them on the line provided. Okay, so we're going to solve this because look, this one, the x is not isolated. Okay, so look, let's say for instance, if I write that as an inequality, look, let's say that's x minus 4 equals 1. What will you have to do? You have to just eliminate the constant. You will do plus 4 plus 4. All right? And that will give you x equals 5. So here, we're going to do the same process. The only difference is that instead of having inequality, we're going to have greater than. So when I graph this, I know it's going to be an open circle. Okay? So I'll do the same thing because remember, to solve inequalities, we use the same step as a regular equation. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do still plus 4, right? So I cancel the 4 because that's the idea. But instead of writing equals, I'm writing what? The symbol that greater than 5. And that's my solution. And I know that my graph is going to go in the right direction, to the right. So let's go here and just find number 5. Number 5 is right here, okay? And because it doesn't have the equal sign, it's gonna be open, all right? And it goes to the right. So that's it. That's just one step inequality, the same thing as one step equation. The only difference is the sign, okay? Muchachos, es exactamente como resolver una igualdad. Lo único que cambia es el signo, ¿ok? pero es el mismo proceso. So let's continue. So let's go on the back. Now here we have two-step equations. You should remember this, all right, from the lesson before. That was the homework that you're supposed to that you handed in on Thursday, okay? Two-step equation. Just think about this being an equal sign. It's the same process. We're gonna eliminate the constant first. So that means that this is the constant. And because it's positive, what do? We do minus. So minus 3 here, minus 3 there, right? Remember that the idea is to cancel out when you have opposite terms, all right? So we eliminate that. What do I have left? So I'm gonna have negative 2x less or equal than 6 because 9 minus 3 is 6. So less or equal than 6, okay? So I did my first step. I'm gonna do one more step, which is dividing by negative 2. And if you remember, all right, in the definition before, when we divide by negative, what happened? This symbol changed direction. So that means now it's gonna become greater or equal than. So I'm gonna have my x here, and that gives me negative 3 because 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. All right? So, like I said, it's the same thing as the regular equations. So now let's graph. Let's go to find the negative 3, which is in the left side of the 0. And because it has the equal sign, it's going to be close. So let's darken it. In which direction the arrow goes, you can clearly see that it's going to the right, because that means greater. In all the numbers, the greatest number should be going to the right. Okay? Now here, remember, we're combining all the what we have learned before. So now we have here variables in both sides. That was one of the lessons that we did. That was the homework for today, okay, Monday. So what we do is, remember, always bring the x to this side. So always start moving the x. Remember, you want the x or the variable to be in the left side. So I'm going to do plus 2x, and I'm going to do plus 2x. I'm going to do one step at a time. I'm not going to kill two birds with the same stone because I don't want to confuse you, but you can do that. So that means that, listen, if you're moving the x to here, the x has to be in this side. Some of you in the homework move the x to this side and then in the other side. That's not right. Because remember, when you're traveling, you're changing signs. And if you do like that, you will get it wrong. So I cancel the x's here, and I have 6 plus 2. That will give me 7x. I'm going to bring down plus 4 less than 11. I know this is going to be an open circle because it doesn't have the equal sign. Now we have two-step equation. Minus 4, the constant goes out first, so I'm going to cancel out. I'm going to continue here, and I have 7x is less than 7 because 11 minus 4 is 7. So what I do now, divide by 7, and because I'm divided by a positive, this sign is not going to change. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So x has to be less than 1. So I'm going to look for 1 here, which is right here, and it's going to be an open circle, all right? And I'm going to do my graph, and it goes to the left. Remember what I say. The symbol tells you in which direction you should be going, all right? So I can clearly see that it's going this way. See, I decided to do inequalities now because we just did equations, okay, regular equations, and so might as well, if you already know this step for solving equations, so it will be easy for you now doing inequalities. Next, see here we have variables in both sides. Now here we have to use the distributive property. Remember, also something that we did in the previous lesson. So what do we do when we distribute? We actually multiply. Remember, I revised some works, and a lot of kids forgot to distribute the number outside with the second term. They multiply 7 times x will give you 7x, and they just put plus 1. They brought down the 1. No, you don't do that. You have to also multiply the 7 times 1, which actually will be 7, less or equal than 56. And just by looking at the sign, I know my circle is going to be closed. So now we have two-step equations. minus 7, cancel the 7, then I have 7x less or equals then 49. Okay, because 56 minus 7 is 49. Now, what is my last step? My last step is divide by 7. Because I'm divided by positive, not changing signs, so the x will be less or equal than 7. Okay? Now, 7 is right here, and because it has the equal sign, it's going to be a closed circle, right? And in which direction the arrow is pointing out to the left. So what I do is I'm going to do my left, and that's it. In the homework, you're not going to be able, I'm not going to be able to give you this graph because you won't be able, what I'm going to do is you're going to see how I'm going to do the next problems, not this one, the other page that I have there, so you can do it like that too. Okay, now, here, what do I have? Here, I just have two-step equation, or two steps inequality, okay? Because what I'm going to do here is solve for x. So, the 5 goes away, plus 5, all right? Cancel the 5, and I got negative 8x is less than, not equal sign, negative what? 16. Because remember, negative 21 plus 5 is negative 16. You have $5, then you spend 21, you don't have enough. You short $8. So now, $16. So now we're going to divide by negative 8. And now, because we're dividing by negative 8, the symbol is going to change. It's going to change direction, okay? So x equals positive 2. Not equal. X is greater than positive 2. So what do we have to do now? What we have to do is just go to my graph, look for the 2, which is here, and I know it's an open circle, and in which direction the arrow is pointing? It's pointing to the right. So I'm going to do my graph to the right, okay? And there it is. That's my solution set. Any numbers greater than 2 are part of the solution. 2 is not part, because look, if I put here 2, is 2 greater than 2? No, it's equal. That's why that number is not part of the solution. Now here we have two-step equations again. So we're going to cancel the 9, okay? So plus 9, that will leave you x over 2 equals 4. Now remember, what you have to do here, guys, is if you put a 1 underneath here, you can just cross multiply. Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm using equal, then it's equal and greater to, my bad. Even I get confused. So if you multiply x times 1, you still have x. And 2 times 4 is 8. So x has to be greater or equal than 8. So the 8 is right here. It is a closed circle. 8 is here. It's a closed circle, and it goes to the right. Okay. Now, in all these problems, I provided you with the graph, all right? In the next one, this is what you have to do, because it will be easier for you in the homework to do it this way. Hopefully, you find a way to do it, okay? So let's just move on to the next page that I have, and we will be done for today. Okay. Oh, we actually have 2 more. Hold on. So here, as you can see, we have a few more to do. Sorry, my bad, I thought I was done. So here what we have to do is we have to distribute, then we have to combine like terms. So be careful, guys, because a lot of kids, when they distribute the 2 with the 2, with the negative 8, and with this also. And that one is outside the parentheses, so you don't need to distribute this times that. You're going to bring that down once you have done the distribution, okay? So if I distribute these 2 with those 2 terms, what would I get? I will get 4x minus 16, all right? Now I have to bring down the negative 8. Negative 8x greater or equal than 0. And I know that my graph is going to be closed, all right? Now, this is combining line terms. Remember, because in this side of the inequality, we have line term, we have 4x and negative 8x. Remember what I said? If you have $4 and you spend 8, do you have enough? No, you're short $4. That means that you will bring down the negative 17 and that will be negative 4x, because like I said, you only have 4 and you spend 8. Remember, negatives is like money that you spend, greater or equal than 0. So what happened now? The constant has to go to the other side. So the constant is negative 16. So that will do plus 16 here, plus 16 there. So that's going to cancel there. What will I have left? I will have left negative 4x. Don't forget about the negative 4x. Greater and equal than positive 16. We good up to there, right? So now we are going to divide by negative 4. So what happened when we divide by negative? The symbol changed directions. Remember that. So x equals negative 4, because 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. So you see, the original symbol was going to the right, but when you actually solve, it turns to the left. So you cannot graph until you already solve or isolate the variable. Okay, so be careful. So let's go now to negative 4, which is here. And it's closed because it has the equal sign. And now it goes to the left. So that should be your solution set. Any number, including negative 4 until negative infinity, is part of the solution set. Here, number 12, we have family in both sides. Remember, even though 4 is smaller than 5, I would suggest for you to bring this 5x to this side, because you want the variable to be in the left-hand side. If you move this, your variable is going to end up on the right side, and when you graph, you might get confused if you don't know that you have to go in the opposite direction. So what you have to do is just move this one to the left. 5x minus 5x, all right? So the x cancels over there because you're moving the x to this side. So we will have negative 8. Now, you have $4 and you spend 5. How many? You still have enough money? No, you're short $1. So you're going to have negative 1x is greater than negative 4. So two-step equation, plus 8, plus 8. Okay, let me continue here. So that I will have left negative 1x is greater than positive 4. Okay? And because I can't have negative variables, so we divide by negative 1. And because I divide by negative, the symbol is going to change directions. So now x is less than negative 4. Okay? So be careful, because none of the time the original symbol is going to remain the same. It all depends what happened during the process, all right? So you can see in the last two, the number changes. So what is negative 4? Right here, and it's open because it doesn't have the equal sign, and which direction is going? To the left. All right? So I'll get to the point. This is what I'm talking about. In the homework, I'm not giving you this line. I'm giving you something like this. So you have to make sure, okay, guys, you start the graph from, let's say, 2 or 3 numbers. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Look, this is what I'm talking about before. You dividing negative t over 32. So if you put 1 on here, you're going to form a proportion. That's what we want to learn soon. I think Thursday. So when you do that, you just cross multiply. So you multiply negative t times 1, and you're going to have negative t less than, if you multiply these 2 right here, 32 times 2, you're going to get positive 64. Okay? Now, because the t, you have an imaginary 1 there, you have to divide by negative 1. Because you're dividing by negative, what's going to happen? The symbol is going to change direction. And t becomes now greater than negative 64. Now, you're not going to have 64 numbers there, right? Because it's big. So this is what you have to do. I always tell my students to do this, right? If you put this 0, let's say you do anywhere, because you know you need all the negative numbers. So let's say you put 0 here, all right? So negative 64 has to be in this side. So what I'm asking you to do is just do at least 3 lines, okay? This is negative 64, that will be negative 63, and that will be negative 65. It doesn't matter because it doesn't have to be in scale. But you're actually telling me that negative 64 is between negative 63 and negative 65. So now 64 is here, it's open circle, and it goes in which direction? To the right. All right. Now this one is two-step equation, okay? So that means that the constant goes away, minus 1, so the 1 cancels out. Minus 8y is greater than 16 because 17 minus 1 is 16. Now I have to divide by negative 8, and you know because I'm dividing by negative, this sign is going to change direction, so now I'm going to go become less than. So y is less than negative 2. Again, right? If you graphing negative numbers, you know that you need the left side of the number line. If you're graphing positive numbers, you will need the right side. So because my solutions are negative, so I'm gonna just put my 0 there. Now, negative 2 should be here, okay? So that should be negative 1. And therefore, you can just do an open circle, and in which direction is going? To the left. All right, and that will be your solution. One more, and we finish. All right, so here we have negative 9y plus 3 is less than 30. You can tell that it's going to be an open circle. Now, you don't know if you're going to go to the right or to the left because you have to solve, okay? So the first thing is minus 3, that cancels out, and what do I have left on the left-hand side? Negative 9y, less than 27, because 30 minus 3 is 27. It might look a little darker, guys, because I forgot to put the camera, all right? So I apologize, I'm so sorry. So now we divide by negative 9, and because I'm divided by negative, the symbol inequality sign is going to change direction. So now 27 divided by negative 9 is negative 3. All my answers were negative. Oh, shoot. So I'm going to put my 0 here. All right, I can just put negative 3 here. So that means negative 2 is there. All right. Because remember, the closer to 0 you're getting a negative number, the larger or the bigger value they have. So negative 3 is open, and it's going in which direction? To the right. Okay. So that concludes our lesson on graphing and solving inequalities. All right. So I hope you understand. And like I said, we saw that during the whole year in both classes, year 1 and year 2. So you should have no problem at all. All right. So have a good day, and I guess I'll see you next lesson. Bye.